Hi everyone, welcome to KRYPTALK, that Irish guy that talks about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is back above $40,000 and it's struggling to stay above the EMA ribbon on the daily. That's exactly what we're going to talk about. Let's get started. Okay, let's get the basics out of the way. So this is the Kraken daily chart and Bitcoin is trading at $40,898. Basically, it's been wrestling down around this area here. If you see this area here, this kind of purple box here, there's a lot of activity here since this massive crash down on the 21st of January. We've been down below the all-time high. If you want to just basically break it down, summarize everything. We've been in a downtrend since the 10th of November when we hit the all-time high of about $69,000. So we've spent a lot of time here recently after this crash on the 21st of January of this year. Spent a lot of time within this box here. So kind of bouncing up and down. You see all the activity here and here and here. So it seems to be like, it seems like it has bottomed out. Of course, you never really know with Bitcoin, but for me, we keep bouncing down here. Bit of accumulation sideways and up again, down again, a bit of accumulation sideways, back up again, the same thing again. Now you could argue it two different ways. I'm going to come back to that, but I'm going to get rid of that box now. You see what I mean? There is a lot of activity here. So I'm going to get rid of that now. Right, so let's look at the EMA ribbon. Again, again, these are daily candles. So we're back above. We pushed through from underneath. We opened here yesterday down around $39,298. We pushed right up in one day, one daily candle, one bullish candle, right up to about $41,125. Even higher actually, because it wicked up higher. See the wick of this candle here to about just under $41,725, just under $42,000. Remember, this yellow perforated line is $42,000. It's a previous all-time high, and I tend to, if you look and zoom out here, if you have a look at the charts here, all these horizontal perforated lines above here, this kind of this white, these green ones and these red ones and this white one, they're all like all-time highs, with our current all-time high at the top and then previous all-time highs. So that's why it's a significant level, and $42,000 has served as a significant both resistance and support level before. But look, right now at the moment, we're kind of just above, we're just below the EMA ribbon. So let me rephrase that. This is the EMA ribbon. We're not above it. We're not below it. We're just below the top of it. So this red line here is the top of it. And remember, when the red lines, this band, it spins back and forth. When we're in a downtrend and we're under it, the red bands tend to be in the top, the kind of warmer bands, and then the yellow bands tend to be at the bottom. But when we push up through it and we're above the EMA ribbon on the daily, and we're increasing in price, and Bitcoin is pumping and heading higher and higher and higher in an uptrend, basically, gradually the ribbon spins, and then you have the yellow bits in the top. But obviously, because we've been in a downtrend since the 10th of November, since this current all-time high of $69,000, the ribbon has spun, and unfortunately the yellow bits or yellow lines are at the bottom and the red lines are at the top, so we are in a downtrend. The only way of spinning that back is, of course, for the price to increase and gradually get into a bull trend or an increasing uptrend again. But we don't have that at the moment. First step is to get above and close above it, and then close another day and close a consecutive few weeks above it. But we're not in that at the moment. So currently, we're just below the top of the EMA ribbon. We're nearly at the top, but look, it looks like today's going to be a bearish day. So I'm going to get rid of the EMA ribbon. Gone. Good luck. So the RSI, really, really quickly, is trading at 52.76. So basically, it's on a knife edge. Doesn't know if it's going to break to the bottom or break above. Again, the closer we get to 100 on the RSI, when that number goes up to 100, it's a sign we're overbought and a correction is due. And closer we get to 0, it's a sign we're oversold and the Bitcoin price has bottomed out. So right now, it seems to be just on a kind of a knife edge at the moment. Seems to be close enough to 50. But we're getting a lot of sideways movement, so that would kind of be expected. Right, the next thing we're going to look at these the green and red lines. So the red line is the 50 moving average. Basically, these lines are generated from, like, say if I say 50 moving average. Basically, they take the price of the last consecutive 50 days, the close price. So the price at the end of the Bitcoin, at the end of the trading day, basically, like 5 or 6 o'clock in New York time. They take the price of the last 50 closes. So the last 50 days, the price of Bitcoin closed at, and they get an average, generates a trend line. When the red line passes underneath the green line, so when the 50 moving average passes underneath the 200, which is the same thing, just the last 200 days, they take the closing price of Bitcoin for the last 200 days and get an average, generates a trend line. When the red line drops below the green line, basically when the 50 moving average drops below the 200 moving average, that's called a debt cross, and usually results in kind of how do I say, lower prices. However, it's a lagging indicator. So this might have been a result of pretty much this. Or basically, it is because it's a lagging indicator because it happens after the fact. Something happens, the Bitcoin price drops, and of course that affects the average price for the last 50 or 200 days, and these lines start to drop down again. So yeah, we've had this debt cross, but it does look like it's leveling out. Like look at the curved line, even drops down, and then it's gradually leveling out. Now if you look at the actual Bitcoin price, stark drops down. That's a fairly steep downtrend there, and you had a few big bearish days, and then here bounced, and it's kind of basically trading sideways. So I'm going to get rid of that because what I want to look at here is this movement here. There's a few ways you could interpret that. The few ways that I interpret it. Now I do think it's bottomed out. I think it's bottomed out, especially what's going on, the terrible things that are happening in the world at the moment. A lot of those things when there is uncertainty, whether it's what's going on at the moment in Europe or even like what's been going on in the world in the last 2 years, you do have these periods of uncertainty and markets tend to react and crash and stuff like that, and Bitcoin's no different. I thought what was happening in Europe at the moment would have a more drastic effect on Bitcoin, but there was an initial drop down, but then it's been trading sideways. I think people are accumulating. I think it's a consolidation pattern, and often in Bitcoin, after these consolidation patterns, you tend to it forms a base. People are more kind of comfortable buying it at these prices, whether you're buying a full Bitcoin or just a fraction of Bitcoin, or whether it's these companies accumulating like billions and billions of worth of Bitcoin. So from what I can see at the moment, there's a few ways you can interpret this. You can interpret this as, keep it really simple. I'm going to just end the video in a minute, but I just want to get through my main point here. So if I just get it's here, it's the brush. Okay, sorry, apologies. So there we have the lowest point it reached on this crash, which was basically 33,000. That's less than 50%. So it's more than a 50% crash because the all-time high is $69,000. So half of that would be what, 34.5 or something like that. So we're actually lower. That's more than a 50% crash. But if you look here, you have another low point. But at the lowest point here, it's a 34% correction. And then the current low point here, sorry, that's not a 34% correction. I mean, sorry, the 34 is higher than 33. So you've got like a higher low. So this is the low, this is a higher low, this is another higher low. Fine. But if you look at the opposite of what's happening now on the kind of short-term scale here, you have a high point. And then look at this point over here. That's a lower high. And this is a lower high. So if I just get rid of all of these and we switch and look at the lines, I'm just going to finish up this video now very, very shortly. But let's just take a look and just draw some rough lines here. There's a few ways you can interpret this. You could interpret it that you have a trend line here. Okay. And then you could have a trend line here. Taking it from a few different ways you could take it. You could take it from here and then expand this out here. Just want to tidy this up and extend this. Okay, and then if I extend this one, just going from the wicks, you could say that one of these lines, this is support line or this trend line, are going to be broken before the 17th of June 2022. So what could happen, I mean, no one really knows. Anyone who tells you any difference is lying to you. It could come down and bounce up here, rejection from here, support, and then eventually depending what happened, you're going to have some sort of breakout there. It could break to the upside or the downside. So it kind of seems it's very hard to tell what's going to happen. You basically can't. But a breakout will happen, but it's just a question if it's to the up or to the downside. Now, another way of interpreting it is there's a lot of accumulation, as I pointed out at the start of this video, around here. So let's say I was to just move these lines to kind of the bottom of this area where there's a lot of action happening here. So see, there's a lot of action here. A lot of activity there. Okay, because you could say that maybe these are just anomalies, these two anomalies, and there's a lot of activity here, so it makes more sense to draw the line almost horizontal, which means then you have a thing called a descending triangle, which if you know anything about patterns, they are bearish patterns. They tend to break to the downside more often statistically than to the upside. So then you could basically say, right, let's say it broke out there. And then you're talking of a price calculation or price target. That's just a rough idea, but then that actually would make sense because you have this Fibonacci retracement here. This is a macro trend down to the 30. That could happen. We could drop down to the 30. I think that'd be a great buying opportunity if we do. I just want to zoom out because I have a macro trend here for the Fibonacci. I started this, I took my zero back as far as March 2020 when we had that massive pandemic crash, and obviously the top of it, of this extension, so the zero is the bottom of the March 2020 crash, the number one or the top is the current all-time high, and then these are all like the Fibonacci retracement. So if that would happen, it would coincide with a bounce off the 0.38 down around $29,000. And if we look back, that's exactly where we were in June 2021. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this. I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm just kind of analyzing. I didn't plan this video, just had a look, and just from what I see there, just basically talking out loud. So yeah, that could happen. I think it's a possibility we go down to 29,000. I don't think we're going to go lower than that. But anyway, the usual thing, this is not financial advice. Do your own research. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. If you want to support the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Let me know, do you think we're going down below $29,000? Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Shláinte. Bye 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 bye.